It was the eyes. I will never forget how they stared at me. Wide open, unblinking, from a face that had been drained of life. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. I knew I wasn't supposed to see him. He was supposed to be gone, buried, dead. Yet there he was, standing in front of her, smiling at her like nothing had happened. And she was smiling back. Her name was Ada, and she was only 10 years old, small for her age, quiet, always playing by herself at the edge of the village. No one thought much of her, except for her mother, who would tell anyone who listened how special her daughter was. But we didn't listen. How could we have known? It all started the day the news of Chijioke's death shook the village. Chijioke was only 19, and he was supposed to be the next king. His father, the old king, had died a few years before, and Chijioke was the only rightful heir. But before he could take the throne, he died suddenly, found lying lifeless in the forest near the river. The elders said it was a tragic accident. Some said he slipped and hit his head on the rocks. Others whispered about the spirits in the forest. Now wow. But no one suspected foul play. At least not until Ada started talking. I was there the day she first spoke about him. It was a hot afternoon, and a group of us were sitting outside the compound, fanning ourselves and chatting. Ada had been sitting under the tree nearby, drawing shapes in the dirt with a stick. She wasn't listening to us, or at least we thought she wasn't, until she suddenly stood up, walked over, and said something that sent chills through me. Auntie, Chijioke is not resting. He is angry. Ha! I froze, the blood draining from my face. What did you say? She looked up at me with those wide eyes, innocent eyes, and repeated, Chijioke is not resting. He said his uncle did it. The women around me started murmuring, some making the sign of protection, others laughing nervously. But I wasn't laughing. I was not laughing. My heart pounded in my chest. In fact, it kept pounding for minutes. Ada, what do you mean? Chijioke is dead. He can't talk to anyone now. She shrugged, like she didn't understand why I was so shaken. He talks to me. I see him by the river every day. He's always there, waiting. At that moment, I knew something was wrong with this girl. Children didn't speak like that. Not here. Not in our village. I pulled her close, lowering my voice so no one else would hear. Ada, you have to stop saying things like that though. It's not good to talk about the dead. Do you understand? But she just stared at me, unblinking. He wants to be heard. That night, I couldn't sleep. Her words kept repeating in my head. He said his uncle did it. He said his uncle did it. That was how those words kept ringing in my head. Chijoke's uncle, Ozuemena, was the king's brother. He had always been a quiet, unassuming man, but something about him never sat right with me. Still, I couldn't accuse him of anything. There was no proof, just the wild words of a 10-year-old girl. Days passed, and Ada kept talking about Chijoke. She would point to places no one else could see and say things like, "He's standing right there," or "He's asking why no one is listening." Her mother dismissed it as a child's imagination, but the villagers were starting to talk. They called her Owanje, a child cursed with the ability to communicate. So my dear friends, are you still listening to me and you have not subscribed to this channel? Join me and let's grow this channel. Let's grow this community together. So please subscribe, click on notification button, comment, like, and share to your friends so that we can grow this community together. So let's go back to the story. It was late afternoon when I saw Ada walking alone toward the forest. The same forest where Chijoke's body had been found. I don't know why, but I followed her. I followed her. Something inside me told me I had to see where she was going. I stayed far behind her, careful not to be seen. She walked with purpose, not like a child wandering, but like someone who knew exactly where they were headed. And then she stopped right by the river. I hid behind a tree, watching as she knelt by the water. Her lips were moving, but I couldn't hear what she was saying. And then I saw him. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. But no, there he was, Chijoke. Standing right across from her, his clothes torn, dirt covering his skin, and his eyes, they were hollow, filled with something dark. Ada, I whispered, stepping forward, but she didn't hear me. She was too busy talking to the boy who wasn't supposed to be there. Suddenly, she stood up, pointed towards a cluster of trees, and shouted, "He says that's where it happened! He says that's where it happened!" I don't know what came over me, but I ran toward her, grabbed her arm, and pulled her back. "We need to leave," I said, my voice shaking. "Now!" She looked up at me, confused. "Why? He's just trying to show us the truth." I didn't care. I dragged her back to the village, heart pounding, not daring to look back. The next day, I couldn't stay silent anymore. I went to the elders, told them everything Ada had said. At first, they didn't believe me. But then, Ada's mother brought her to the council and the girl spoke for herself. "Chijoke's uncle killed him," she said, her voice calm, like she was talking about the weather. "He wanted to be king. He took Chijoke into the forest and he hit him with a rock. Chijoke couldn't fight back. He trusted him." The room fell silent. The elders exchanged uneasy glances. No one knew what to say. Then, one of the older men spoke. "This is serious. We cannot accuse a man based on the words of a child. But Ada didn't back down. I can show you where he did it. They didn't want to believe her, but the village was buzzing with rumors now, and they had no choice. A group of us followed Ada to the forest. She led us to the same spot by the river, the place where she said Chijioke had died. This is where his blood is, she said, pointing to the rock. You can still feel it. And she was right. The elders inspected the area, and after hours of searching, they found something. A piece of Chijioke's clothing, stained with blood, hidden under some leaves. It was enough. That night, Ozuemena was arrested. He didn't even try to deny it. Under pressure, he confessed. He had killed Chijioke out of jealousy, wanting the throne for himself. The village was never the same after that. Ada stopped talking about Chijioke, but everyone knew she was different. People kept their distance from her, afraid of what she might see next. As for me, I never forgot the look in her eyes that day by the river. The way she smiled at something I couldn't see. And sometimes, late at night, I wonder if Chijioke's spirit is still out there, watching over the village, or still just roaming about. No one will ever know. Thank you, my people. This is the end of today's story. I hope we learned a few lessons from here. Most especially that jealousy can never help anyone. Jealousy does not pay. It tears apart. Love should always lead the way. There is nothing to be jealous about another person for. Everyone is running a different race. Let love always lead the way. Thank you for listening, and do not forget to subscribe, to click the notification button, to like, to comment.